Welcome to George Coll Fine Art. Here, the viewer is encouraged to get outside and paint from life. George's job is to provide the tools to solve the many technical challenges faced in rendering landscape paintings. View the library of landscape paintings offered and become a subscriber. You can also purchase tutorial videos, plus original tutorial and studio paintings. Thank you. And if you like what you see, click the subscribe button and join in on the fun.
Hello and welcome to a new series titled Kebler Ponds. So Kebler Ponds is up on Kebler Pass up above Crested Butte. Alright, so today was blocking. We started with a blank canvas, but today I introduced a gray tone. I toned the whole canvas with gray, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But the reason I did it in gray was because there's a lot of gray in nature. So it's a good background color. So today was block-in. We figured out where the shapes were, put in basic colors where the, in the shapes, and tried to make our best guess at it. Tomorrow we'll even get more into balancing and having those colors work together. So get outside and paint. Paint with your friends, get critiques, and don't be intimidated by a white canvas. All right, let's get started on part one. All right, bye-bye. Hey, welcome to part one of a three-part series titled Kebler Ponds. Kebler is a name of a pass between over behind Crested Butte. All right, so happens to be up in some great, beautiful country, and I just thought this configuration of ponds and trees and willows would make a great, simple composition. I think I must be working on about a 12 or 14 by 16. It's a little bit bigger than I normally like to paint on for a three-part series. So I'll be asking you, and I will be doing some work off camera based on the same information I've given you during the lesson. All right, with that explanation, take a deep breath, a sip of coffee, and I better get my coffee. It's back here. Put it in the right place where it's close by, and we can get started. Part one is block-in, so we've got to find out where the shapes are and fill them in with a good basic mother color. Mother color means, one color that could pretty much go with the lights and darks within that shape. So I'm starting with a number 2. It's called a bristline, and I think that's the brand name. It's a number 2. So I'm going to get just a little bit of turp, not too sloppy, just like the porridge. Has to be just right. And I'm going to, instead of have a hump, I'm going to have a bow back here with just maybe a little stuff peeking over the top of it, maybe another mountain. I don't know, I'm making that up. And let's get some shapes in here. Don't want to be in front of the camera, so I'm going to have to know that probably the lower third is this major pond. And I'll move it over to the right just a little bit and make it a little bigger because it's got some interest to it. All right, so then we have big dark tree here, up. I gotta move this tree over a little bit more, and big dark tree here. And then there's kind of like a hill here, and this where, then it's flat. Back in here, small tree here, we'll bring a slope in here. Maybe I'll move this up a little bit. And we have trees. So there's big dark tree area here, and more trees here. Another strong dark tree thing in here. get a different brush to figure out where these darks are going to be. So I'm going to go more blue, more brown, more viridian, more yellow ochre. My drawing color was ultra blue and yellow ochre. And this one is just a little darker because of the brown I put into it. Darker brown. Viridian. Add some red to it, more brown. The brown is transparent oxide red. And I need to get a little bit more green into it. Okay. Let's get this thing in here. He's kind of a big anchor, huh? So he's in here. And this one is actually over here a little bit. And then I'm going to have a dark one here. And big guy here. Just some big darks. And another plantation of darks. And then as we go back, there's kind of a dark area up in here. And some other bands of dark. So there's a mixture of pine trees and aspen trees. The nice thing about Kebler Pass, there's a lot of aspen trees. It's the biggest living organism in the world. It's aspen trees because they're all rooted together. Add a little bit more blue to this. Blue. And just a little bit of terp. A little bit more blue. The softer brush holds more paint. And that's why I like to use it at this stage. Just a good mop. Now, so I'm using my darks as kind of like anchors and working around them. So if I know where those are, I can kind of get in there and figure out where some of this other stuff's going to be. Well, so I put this shape in as the pond. Now, I did that in a confident way, but it could be wrong. And this is the stage where if you've got something wrong, it's easy to move. So to judge that, I'm going to put some ponds in the back. If you look, there's some smaller ponds as they go back. So there's kind of a dark edge that comes in here. And then there's, I'm going to put two major darks in here. And there's going to be some trees right in here, and here, and here. So this light color kind of leads you back into this back area. It's nice to have paintings where your eye can follow something or move around instead of all in your face. So now I'm going to say I want a major pond right in here. I don't know if that's going to be right or not. Then we're going to have some smaller guys in here and some designs going out. So I'm going to have to put a beaver pond and reduce the size of this guy right here. That's a beaver pond or a beaver dam there. And this is going to come around. And I'm going to have a side channel here and an island here. And if you look, there's kind of a reflection down here and some darks running over into here also in the way of reflections. I'm going to get back and check this shape stuff and see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to be more defined now with my bow. I just think it's neater to have a concave on the horizon to say, okay, let's look in this area. So, as we say, we make that up in artist language, we call that Bob Rossing it, making it up. And because Bob never used a reference. And I've never seen the movie about Bob Ross, but everyone that's seen it says it's really good, and how Bob got screwed over by his business partners. Reminds me, my dad always talks about the Great Depression. He was, I think in his first year of college, he was 18 or 19, in 1929, and his dad had a wholesale fruit business out of Pittsburgh. And he would buy in the morning these freight cars of fruit, and then he'd distribute it. And somehow, things didn't work out so well when the crash happened, and he lost his business. And that was a sad time for the Coll family, apparently. My dad had to drop out of college, but he turned into a really successful guy. With 1 year college, he ended up being in one of the upper echelons of an oil company, Gulf Oil. They would say Gulf Oil. I'm going to have the shadows come up this hill here instead of this way. And there's some darks along here. That's nice. And I need a few more darks coming in here. All right, we have 19 minutes to go. So my question to us is, what to do next? I still think I need some more dark designs in here. And so I'm going to run some through here. You can kind of see them, and some more stuff coming down. I'll put some shadows in here. Shadows. But I've got this big darn triangle here, and this big space here that I need some work in. So I'm going to put some small trees in here. I see some in there, but... And I'm going to put some nice darks right here, with maybe some tops to them. And that'll help. Oh, I have to have a thing going this way, I think, to show the hill. So I should have the design going this way instead of this way. Okay. I have more hill here than I think the reference has. So I'm going to make some changes to help out with that problem. Okay, so I got a lot of little trees up in here. And I think I'm going to work on those later. All right, so let's make it. And so we've been basically drawing on where these shapes are going to be. So now let's fill in some of these shapes, like when we were kids, we had to draw in between the lines of the coloring book. Okay. So clean the palette. Okay, paper towels. I have this handy dispensary of paper towels below my workspace, but when the roll gets small, it's hard to roll. So I have to be careful when it gets to this point. Give myself a little bit more delicate way I need to turn it. All right, so we've been working with darks. Let's start with some blues that we see in the water and in the upper hill. Oh, guess what? I forgot to tell you. So I toned my canvas with gray. It's a product that I'll introduce in part 2 because I forget the name of it. But anyway, so I tone it in gray because there's so much gray in nature. When I was plein air painting, up in the Kebler Pass here a couple weeks ago, one of my painting friends gave me some, it's kind of a yellow-orange type toner. And I liked it, but it's kind of hard to cover up. This, you can miss a few spots and it still works. Not bad for us fast painters. And yes, I do take more time with my paintings, particularly the bigger ones. And, but I'm trying to work with you all to get these basics down. Okay, so let's move this white over to the left. And let's start out with a light green. So I'm going to try some light green. So it's kind of a yellow green. So let me squeeze out some stuff that might work for us. So I am going to try some emerald. Emerald is a Gamblin product, and Gamblin doesn't have numbers. So it's Gamblin, and it's emerald green. Okay, so I got my emerald. It's strong stuff. I'm making a big pile of it because we have a lot out there. So now I'm going to go with a lemon yellow, and let's try that. And it's not yellow enough, or yellow, and we're going to add some maples for a base, good base color. That maples helped. And a little bit more yellow. Yellow. I think this might work for starters. I'd like to maybe go a little darker for my base coat and then work the lights on top of it. And I'm going to go back to my mop, which is my number 4 Rosemary 273 or 272. My handle's getting a little mucked up with paint. Okay, let's try this out. That's working pretty good. Okay, I got to fill in the blanks here, so I'm going to stay kind of busy and talk to you a little bit more about how I came about, I guess, doing all this stuff. I just thought from day one I had some artist talent in me, and I've just felt that ever since, and I wanted to expand on that. So there's times in life where you just have to work your butt off and, raise kids and pay mortgage and all that kind of stuff, have a real job. And I was a social worker during my working career, and that kept me pretty busy. And then I was married with 3 small kids, and then they became large boys, and that's how I needed to keep the bacon coming in, as they say. But when the boys started getting, a little bit more independent and a little bit more on their own, they spent less time with us and more time with their friends. So Jenny and I could have a little bit more time for ourselves because we weren't changing diapers and all that stuff that keeps you pretty busy for big hunks of time when they're small. Oh, doesn't that look nice? I just got back and looked at it. And that does give you an idea of those greens. I don't know if I should have put that green in, but I know these greens here I'm going to try to say it's going back here. And I have these darks in here. I need a good dark line right across here, I think. So it kind of goes whoop, whoop, okay. Let's get a sky color in here. All right, so it's a great green for now. So I'm going to save my whatever I got left, mix it together well, and get in a good basic blue. Of course, you guys know I like Sevres. And Sevres is a Rembrandt color, 530. It's kind of the no-brainer. That's the way it was explained to me by somebody that was much better than me in my earlier days of painting. And he goes, it's great for Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming skies. And I know there's clouds and stuff like that up there, but let's just go with this for now. Oh, I better secure this a little better. It doesn't feel that secure. Now it does. Okay. Let me get that slop brush going. A little bit of dirt. Well mixed. A little bit more turp to spread it around. I do like this gray background for trying to remember where I put those lines for. I want to have just a little bit of a hill peeking over. And I appreciate people that do plein air painting and they are strictly painting what's out there. And I don't know, I've never found a perfect composition out there. There's always been something popping up, you know, to spoil the pie. So like down here I have that big triangle and I put that bush in there. So there's always ways to kind of, I feel like changing things. And I don't know, the instructors I've had or the workshops I've had, they go, you know, throw this in or do something in that corner. And other than put your signature in there, that's one way to deal with a blank triangle on the lower left or right. Okay, let's use some of that blue down in the pond. I should have just kept this thing clean. Here we go. So we're going to have some of this down in here. Well, I had such an exciting week last week because of the fire. We had, in Loveland, we had a big fire light up behind us above Sylvandale Ranch. And Sylvandale's fine, but boy, I'm sure they were a little concerned when that thing came over the hill. But we were all evacuated here on the west side because they like to be very cautious. Something's making noise out there. What? No. They're painting stripes on this street. There's a big machine out there. And so we were evacuated and we went to, we have a little trailer. So Jenny and I stayed at the Red Cross headquarter location, which is just over, you know, they had a big parking lot over Foundations Church. And that was really, the people were so kind to us. And they made, you know, a discomforting thing and concerning thing, because, you know, when you leave your property and there's a major fire, you're concerned, even though we're not in the woods. We know about what happened in LA. If there's those strong winds, I think that out there they call them the Santa Ana winds, all hell can break loose in the suburbs. Well, I'm not in a suburb, I'm kind of semi-rural. But there's a lot of fuel, and That's what had our concern. But we didn't have the strong winds, and that made life a little easier. Okay, I need some greens back in here, and then we're going to hopefully have enough time to do that. Jeez, how do I get this paint all over me? Okay, let's make a mixture of, we figured out where some darks were. Let's spend a little bit more time working on those darks. I'm going to go a little bit more blue, and I'm going to add some yellow ochre. Add some yellow ochre, more of a pine tree color, and I'm going to work with that. So I'm going to first work a little bit more on defining these areas of pine trees. And I think there's going to be some up in here. Something's dinging behind me. It's the age of dinging. The hardest thing, I think, for us artists is to just turn off everything and do the thing we love to do, and that's paint. Because there's plenty of distractions. But I find when I paint with my friends, I can concentrate pretty well on painting and get some stuff done. But I also cherish my time alone in front of the canvas. But some of you, including me sometimes, you can be intimidated by a white canvas. And but I find once I get started, I can cruise along pretty good. All right, so let's get an aspen tree color. So let's get some this new color that my friend Lise gave me. It's a Charvin color, Charvin, which I think is French. And this is Intense Viridian. Let's see. Okay, let's get some Naples in there. Oh, it's not that intense. Let's get some more green in there. Naples. And let's throw some of that green we had from previous mixtures in the pine trees to make it a little bit more related. I don't want too much difference between the two because you can see that you don't want big contrast back there, but it's got to show something different. So I think that mixture I just made is going to do the trick. My concern is, did I make enough? So let's just dab it in for now in case I run out of time. And get it going so you know what I'm doing. I think I made enough. He says, he hopes. So while I'm filling in the blanks, this, as I said, is kind of the coloring book side of painting, is what I'm really trying to pay attention to is getting some sort of shapes right and some sort of combination of value colors that are going to work together. And using the reference as your guide, but it doesn't have to be exactly as you see it out there, because cameras are, as you see it on the photograph, because cameras have a way of interpreting colors also. So you have to kind of depend on your memory as to what's going on. And once you get all the colors in, you go, oh, this one is wrong. It seemed right at the time, but it's just wrong. Because when I look back now, I'm thinking these colors here that I just made, the pine tree colors, they're a little light and they need to go a little darker. And maybe a little bluer in places too. So I've got how much time? 1 minute and 22 seconds. So what I want you to do off camera is fill in all these areas where you have gray coming through or white canvas, and get that covered up so you don't have so many of those. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I need a lighter color down here, and working around all these little areas where gray's coming out. Now I want to quit right before that dinger ding so it doesn't jump out of my shoes here. But it's just going to take some time to work around these darks. And if you paint over a dark, just reestablish it. No big deal. Oop, wrong color. Here we go. And just work around here. All right. Thanks for coming by for part 1 of Kebler Ponds. And I'll see you in part 2. All right. Bye-bye.